In the context of a model-based systems engineering approach, I want to spend some time talking about the purpose and the importance of conducting a critique of the approach. Now, there are two scenarios in which firms are adopting MBSE as an approach. On the one hand, we see a number of firms that are essentially building this as a sandbox. They want to build the capability of the people who are involved in it and evaluate whether it might make sense. And by contrast, we see some other firms who are really using this for mission-critical areas of the business and for which it is an important component of their approach or their source of competitive advantage.
Model-based system engineering is an important part of GM's forward-looking philosophy as to where we're going as a company. We are looking forward to the time where we can provide that traceability from the user's expressed desires of a certain functionality or a feature or requirement, all the way through any derived requirements down to the actual component that manifests the result of that requirement, all the way back through its verification, validation, and integration as a complete system.
So in the context of a critique, it's particularly important to evaluate, do we think an MBSE approach is the right approach? Do we think the investment is merited? And what are the benefits that we expect to get from it? In my experience, in a past life working at NASA, we were evaluating a new model that was going to wrap a number of dimensions around project management. Typically in project management, you estimate the cost of the project and you estimate the schedule of the project independent of each other. And we were presented with a new approach that was actually going to couple the two together. Not just straight correlation, but that had dynamics inside the model that were intended to identify what are the scenarios when my schedule goes long that it increases my cost and how much. And by contrast, what are the scenarios by which when my cost goes up, I have implications for schedule. So we were faced with an evaluation of the investment and then a consideration of what are the downstream benefits that we might achieve in terms of an increase in the forecast accuracy, whether they were in terms of our ability to run a variety of scenarios, etc. Our experience suggests that MBSE represents a substantial investment up front, that it takes a fair bit of work to stand one of these up, and that the benefits of this approach tend to be fairly back-end weighted. They tend to accrue, for example, on the right-hand side of the V, as we think about validating and verifying the set of requirements we have, as we start to think about integrating new modules or new technologies in, that it enables us to do that more quickly and more effectively.
One of the biggest challenges that I think we're going to see with model-based system engineering is the decision about how to implement it. People get excited about the idea of model-based system engineering, and they want it to be the end-all be-all tool that's going to solve all their documentation problems. And I think they focus too much on backwards looking and trying to replace the documentation they have for existing or legacy systems. And that can quickly become cumbersome and expensive and time-consuming. The biggest challenge is going to be for companies and for users to start using model-based system engineering for their future systems, but still be able to interact with their legacy systems. It's going to be especially challenging for people who are developing or upgrading existing systems where they still have legacy systems in operation. And so they're going to have to make decisions about how much of the legacy systems to model and pull into the new tool versus how much to draw the line in the sand and start modeling going forward.
It's important to think carefully about what are the benefits and whether, in fact, we're going to see a return on those benefits. And one of the biases that I think it's important to be aware of here are that in a new organization, taking a new approach, some of these benefits may be uncertain, they may be difficult to estimate, they may be diffuse in the organization. We don't necessarily want to discount them on the basis of having difficulty estimating them. And this is in fact why we're presenting you with a number of industrial examples to help hone your sense of what are these benefits and evaluate whether they might make sense in your organization.
One of the biggest lessons that I've taken away from all of the people that I've talked to about model-based system engineering is that you have to decide very definitively where you want to start and what your objectives are, because modeling can be used in so many different ways. It can quickly become overwhelming, and it can grow so large and so costly that people decide they don't want to use it anymore. We need to identify specific cases and small areas that we can begin using it, and then move forward from there so that in the future we grow our capabilities and our use and our reliance on model-based system engineering.